All right, today we are going to talk about 2021 and how you are going to maximize your results in it. I recently had a session, a 30-minute jumpstart session with an individual, and we really got into how do we use the Key2Success Planner to really determine what it is that you are going to focus on in 2021. Guys, this is the time that you need to start embracing the idea of the year in front of you. Start thinking about your vision, start plotting out your goals, determine what each and every week should look like. And there's so many tools in the Key2Success planning system that help you do that. And he asked a great question. He asked me, where do I start? How do I start planning my year, and where do I get started in the planner? So today, guys, I'm going to let you tune in and listen in on the session that we have. And we have sessions available. So if you want to have a private session with me for 30 minutes or 90 minutes, I will definitely take the time and we'll do that together and we'll get your year started right. But he asked me, where should I start? Where should my year start? Where should I start in a planner? And I go through with him 3 key things that I use when I start plotting my year: the vision board, the ideal week, and my quarterly reviews. Those 3 pages I use to determine which goals become my priority and which action steps make it into my weekly plans. And I'm going to take you through our chat so you can see, first and foremost, the advice I shared with him. So stay with me.
So this is what the original Key2Success Planner looked like in 2019. Mm-hmm. And I still had the same concept behind community, self, career, and relationships. And I had like this 4-quadrant approach, and then I had an inner quadrant and an outer quadrant. And what the idea was, and I can maybe try to do it here a little bit just off my desktop, was there are certain times in your life where you might be in, keep in mind, the closer you are to the circle, the more invested you are. Okay. That was my thought process or my coaching behind it. But you only have 100%, right? We only have 100% of our time that we can put into all 4 quadrants, and every single development area speaks for itself. Now, yes, you could probably go in here and you could put a dot here, a dot here, a dot here, a dot here, and make this another perfect square, right? Mm-hmm. And say, well, I'm 25% invested in each one of them. Well, the challenge with that is that's kind of false tense, because we all go through different seasons in our life, and we all go through different seasons even in the year. And when I was redeveloping the 2020 planner and thinking about 2021, COVID was kind of coming around, and I realized that there was going to be this huge shift in how people did their work and how integrated people working at home was going to integrate into their family and their self-preservation and all those different things. And I said, well, I'm going to change the cards up on them a little bit and have them think of it more as a linear model. And I'll show you that in a minute. But the reason why I'm showing you this is because in your world, you might have a strong basis or background in career, right? But you might be really at this point in your model, you might be saying, hey, I really want to focus more on my community and my relationship development, but using the power of my career and the connections of what I've learned to really kind of help establish kind of this ring. And then through this, I want to see my own personal growth. If it be through, and I'm just going to speak candidly, if it's through the Lord or your own journey, and you might find yourself having something more like this, right? Does that make sense a little bit? Where you're putting more energy in this community and relationship bubble, but you're still obviously trying to cultivate, your own career or your own mental development by maintaining and retaining the development you had in your personal life. Is that a fair assumption?
Yep.
So it was really hard for me to teach people that on this quadrant-based things, because they didn't really get how that triangular web worked and how you could move the axes. But the idea was you're never to invest more than 100% of yourself, right? Or become over-invested. So that's what really came. So what came out of it is I still wanted to focus on these 4 key areas, and I still wanted people to be able to recognize it. But I wanted you first off to stop thinking about how you wanted to develop yourself and which areas you want to develop in. So how we accomplished that is we did just the simple vision board. So this here is essentially, it's my space and thinking. Think about those 4 areas: yourself, your career, your relationship, community, and what connects, what things you want to develop. So you're talking about, church and that role, how are you going to, what do you see for that year, and what do you want to invest in? And then from there, you start to look at, okay, well, I have a goal that I really want to see. Maybe you're in charge of a men's group program, or you're trying to help spin more people involved. Well, maybe by May, I want to have 2 programs running. Well, by August, I want to have 4 programs running. So what you do is you start to plot out basically some underlining goals in this right side. Now, I find a lot of people, what they do, and this is what I do, is I'll start working over here on the left side, looking at my vision, but then I'll jump into the year, and I'll start plotting out some of the ideas of where I want to go. But as I keep plotting out my vision for the year, I find out what happens. I say, okay, well, I realize for me to be able to expand this online offering, I need to accelerate my commitment in the first quarter. And that's why these are laid out the way they are. They're laid out so they're quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And what happens a lot of times is either one of 2 things happens. You become very front loaded on the beginning of the year, or you find that your goals for your whole year, or what you really want to accomplish, where I tell people before you jump into your goals, and I tell people that you need to do this on a more quarterly basis, is you need to jump into your ideal week and really assess it. Because the ideal week for me, and for a lot of people that I coach on how to use this planner, is you're really taking these 4 areas of investment and saying, okay, in this season in my life, which could be the next 4 weeks, it could be the next 12 weeks, it could be the next 6 months or the whole year, I want to see stronger development based on the goals and vision I have. I'm going to have more development and more investment of my time in myself or my career or my community, wherever the story may be. But what I ask people to do is take from your vision board some of those key things that you feel are some of your most important aspirations for the year, plot them in here, and then just kind of jump down here to the bottom where I have this ideal week and start writing out what your normal week already looks like. Do you already have standing appointments, or do you already have standing things that you want to do? Maybe you want to create a better workout routine. Well, to make that happen, I'm going to commit every day at 4:00. I'm going to work out. That is going to be part of my ideal week and part of my routine developing that habit. And then obviously I tell people, start to color code different spaces on here. And what I find is when people do this exercise, and it really is what it is an exercise, you start to see how much time you have available to make those commitments that you want to achieve.
So now, it's like time blocking, right?
What was that?
Time blocking? Is that kind of?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So then from here, you jump back in your goals and say, okay, I know for my ideal week in this particular quarter that my goal is, I know I got 1 whole day. Thursdays, I pretty much don't have any standing commitments. I got Mondays and Tuesdays afternoons I'm available. What can I do at that time, and how can I make that time purposeful? Maybe it's saying, no, I want to leave Thursday wide open because that's halfway through the week and I don't want to run myself short if something comes up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I know Monday, if I jump into the office and I hammer out the things that are a priority to me and I get everybody else rolling, I can take that afternoon then and focus on where I want to develop. And that's what I do. But it's different for each person. So then you jump into your goal and say, okay, with that time block from that ideal week, I'm going to start to develop goals in these areas that make a point. And from there, what I ask people to do is I tell them, as you start to look at these key action steps and the things that you need to achieve, you start to plot them in one of two places. And it's just basically how big a thinker you are. You either take the energy and you plot them in your quarterly timeline and actually map out those objectives here in your quarterly timeline, or you jump into your week and say, I'm going to start nailing out some of these objectives this week and next week. It's just a matter of how big an idea that it is. The other side of it is under projects, you have action steps and tasks. Those will filter into that same piece. And that's why when I show people a lot of this, because what happens is people start to say, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. I get lost in my own world. Well, that's what's so powerful about OneNote, is that you then can easily come in and you can create those hyperlinks and continue to drop them in on the pages. So boom, every day I can go back and say, these were the big tasks I had on my week for the week. And you can keep carrying that over and over. Or, you know, for example, if you had this project and this was men's group development, you know, this could be a standing page that you easily find yourself just, hey, this is an opportunity of mine. I want this to show up as I'm going through each day. I'm going to throw this down there. Or maybe it's in every week. I want to basically, at the end of the day, what matters most to me is I want to keep seeing that. I want to keep seeing that men's group develop even more. So it's just something that stays on your radar, and you're easily able to get back to that project when you need to, and it can easily flow from one week to the next week and flow through the quarter. Or you can go into that quarter and say, okay, this men's group is one of my priorities, and I'm going to put that right here. And then I'm going to make a point that I'm going to start out the first 4 weeks of this month putting it in play. Or you might say, well, geez, I kind of have a lot going on here. Is there an opportunity? Does it make sense for maybe me to kind of maybe overlap some of this space? And now it's something I'm going to find later in the quarter. And the idea with that is that I find a lot of individuals, they plan in segments, and they plan in a short bandwidth of segment. So they only plan the things that are right in front of them. And then what happens is they kind of get over some of those big hurdles. They have this down period where I got through a big project, I got through a big hurdle, and now you go into a 5 or 10 day kind of like lull, because your body's resetting, your mind's resetting, because you haven't taken time to transition that energy into the next project or plan or goal that you have in mind. But at the same time, you start stacking everything on top of each other, you get exhausted from trying to do too much, or you simply don't accomplish enough, or accomplish it for what it is, because you burn yourself out because you're taking on too much, and then you lost traction on all your daily commitments. And that's why going back to that ideal week, I feel is so important to people's development. And this wasn't a realization for me until I really hit COVID and my routine got juggled. I mean, I was very much a routine guy that I didn't need to have this concrete plan. I knew that, hey, every Monday night I took time for myself. Every Sunday after the kids went to bed, I took an hour and I planned out my week. I was very structured, and I could do that. Well, when kind of everything just rolled into me working at home and family being at home and us all being there, it just became all one big ball. And I realized some of the struggles I was having with that, and through conversations with others, I recognized that for people to get moving forward, they need to have some type of plotted routine, if they're living in COVID or not living in COVID. And that's where the ideal week really came into, really became part of the planning system.
So that was a part of our session. I know it's been 15 minutes, and if you guys are still with me, thank you for tuning in. I know you are invested in wanting to maximize your success in 2021 and just get that vision that you have in your head down on paper and start making plans for accomplishing those goals and great ideas that you have in front of you. In the next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about that ideal week and how often you guys should be using that ideal week and how often you should be assessing the ideal week and making new plans or updating plans, okay, what I want you guys to do right now is grab your planner out, start looking at the vision, the ideal week, in the quarterly pages, if you haven't already, and start plotting out your year. Start determining where you have opportunities, in which areas you want to develop yourself in. Are you focusing first and foremost on self, career, relationship, or your community? And what are some of your major goals in each one of those development areas? And if you haven't been someone that has joined our community, now's the time to do so. Go ahead and check it out. Guys, the Key to Success Planning system is growing each and every year, and we are going to be announcing some big announcements for the 2022 planner. Yes, we're already thinking about 2022 because we don't want to think about 2020 anymore. So you're going to want to tune in, subscribe to our channel, and follow us, because that announcement will be made very shortly, and we'll take you through the new updates. And I'll give you one hint. There is going to be hyperlinks in the OneNote version, and we're going to have a 3 to 5 year planning objective. And that's all going to be released here shortly. So we're excited to share that with you. So guys, thank you for following me. If you like what you see and you want to see more of it, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, like the page, like the video, encourage others to see it as well. We're going to have a great 2021 year. Did I just say great 2021 year? Is that right? Well, either case, we're going to have a great 2021. I know it. See you soon.